that mugshot of Donald Trump is quite something, isn't it? I found it interesting to see how different people are interpreting it. Some saying that his enemies won't like that because it doesn't look nearly criminal or mugshotty enough. If you think of some of the mugshots over the years of well-known people, you can see the shock and the shame and the disorientation even sometimes in the photographs. And some of Trump's supporters and staffers and lawyers and the like and advisors who themselves have been arrested and had their fingerprints taken and mugshots done did look like they were in a mugshot. I mean, arguably, the picture of Donald Trump, if you've seen it, you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, he is looking squarely, deeply into the camera. I would argue in a rather aggressive and defiant way. And if I was able, I mean, I'm not obviously accurately, but if I was able to interpret the message he wanted to get across in that photograph, and I've got no doubt he's given it thought, it would be, I dare you. I think he looks like he's saying to his detractors and the people coming at him legally, I dare you to take me on, and you see what will happen to America and to me if you take me on. And of course to them, because he regards these as politically motivated arrests. Again, you'll make your own decisions about that. So my question to you, if you haven't seen it, do take the time to find it and have a look. And if you have, what do you think? Is it good for him, that shot? Can he use it? He'll try. Is it good for him or is it bad for him? And if he does what at the moment he looks like he's going to do, which is to ride roughshod over every other Republican and end up being the candidate for presidency, barring, criminal offences and jail. Is that good for America? Is he going to be good for America? I can't think how he could be good for America, but you might disagree. 0345 6060 973, the number to call. You can text 84850. You can tweet at LBC. Let's talk to David Cay Johnston, investigative journalist, professor at Syracuse Law and author of The Big Cheat, How Donald Trump Fleeced America and Enriched Himself and His Family. David, good afternoon to you.
Hello, Sheila.
Is he, in this photograph and how he is talking around these cases, is he just going to enrich himself again one way or another through these difficulties?
Well, you hit it right on the head, Sheila. Donald thought about what he wanted to look like in his mugshot. Donald always does that. If you go to interview him in his office, he'll tell you where to place cameras, and he'll talk. He understands lighting and angles. And this photo, which he's also, by the way, now selling T-shirts for $34 with that picture of him on it, will be the lasting photo of Donald Trump. If you open up a high school history book 100 years from now, that's highly likely to be the picture you'll see it, barring something we haven't seen in the future.
Which is so unlike other presidents, isn't it?
Well, nobody else has gone on the kind of crime spree that has been Donald's entire life back to when he was a boy and he would throw rocks at the next-door neighbor's baby in the pen to see if he could make the baby cry. It's just who he is. But like the other people who've surrendered so far, I believe a dozen of the 19 have surrendered, a number of them are smiling. Al Capone, the notorious mobster, of course, he gave a big grin in his mugshot. Pablo Escobar, who at one time was the biggest drug lord in the world, gave a sort of a grinning, ha, 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 to his photo. Not everybody, looks like they're a deer caught in the headlights in their mugshot.
What are his supporters saying at the moment about this?
Well, they continue to believe that this is all wrong, that many of them believe he won the election, even though there's exactly zero evidence of that, and that this is politically motivated. There are now some leading Republicans, as we saw in the debate this week, that didn't have Trump but had the 8 other candidates who want to move past Donald Trump, and there are plenty of professional Republican strategists who believe that sticking by Trump is, if not a death knell for the Republican Party, and some of them say it is, it just means that the Democrats will dominate at every election in 2024.
Amongst the charges he faces are racketeering, speaking of Al Capone, soliciting a public official to violate his oath of office, conspiracy to impersonate a public officer, conspiracy to commit forgery, and making false statements. Some of those are federal and some of those will be state. Is that right?
Well, the charges in the Georgia case, for which he was booked yesterday, those are all Georgia state charges. So a federal pardon is not available if Trump were to get to the White House or a Trump-friendly Republican were to get to the White House. And in fact, the governor of that state cannot pardon him. Under Georgia law, you have to serve your prison sentence, you have to express contrition, and then you can apply to a board appointed by the governor for a pardon. So the Georgia case is significant in that there's no way to wiggle out of this. If Trump is convicted at trial, one of his co-defendants has invoked his right to a speedy trial, which would be 60 days from yesterday, and or 70 days from yesterday, I guess. And Fani Willis, the district attorney, has said, hey, I'm ready to go. All 19 of you, October 23rd, let's go to trial.
And Trump can do nothing about that?
Well, he can file complaints. He can seek delays. He switched out his Georgia lawyer yesterday and will no doubt argue that the new lawyer needs to get up to speed. A judge may or may not allow him time to do that. But in the case of his co-defendant, Mr. Chesborough, under Georgia law, he'll have to go to trial by, I believe it's October 31st. And go to trial means a jury has been selected and sworn in. So either Mr. Chesborough will get separated from the case or everybody will have to go to trial in October.
And what could stop him even standing for president?
Oh, only if, and I expect this to happen, there are lawsuits brought saying that Trump has violated the 14th Amendment by giving aid or comfort to insurrectionists. You don't have to be convicted to do that. This is a post-Civil War amendment to the Constitution that all of the rebels who were fighting to maintain slavery, and that was the stated purpose of the secession by all of the Confederate states, to protect and maintain slavery. You didn't have to be convicted of any crime. If you participated in that insurrection or any insurrection, you are barred from ever holding any public office, and there will be lawsuits brought all across the country, I expect in all 50 states, asking that Trump be barred as someone who gave aid and comfort to an insurrection from appearing on the ballot. That's going to be a big legal story over the next year.
And in what setting and how soon is that likely to be tested? I mean, from the outside looking in, it looks pretty clear that he did, but clearly that needs to be tested to a criminal level.
Right.
And what's the schedule looking like for that?
Yeah, Sheila, it doesn't need to be tested to a criminal level.
Oh, doesn't it?
Because whether you gave aid and comfort is not a criminal statute. It's a provision in the Constitution.
Oh, right.
And giving aid and comfort is a lot lower standard than actually being there. If Trump had gone to the Capitol, as he said he was going to do, and had breached the Capitol, there'd be no question. But the really good lawyers around America who oppose Trump appearing on the ballot, some of them Republicans, have said that they are going to bring these actions. They can't bring them until it's time to certify candidates for elections. And the first primary election matters will occur in March of 2024. So that means ballots will get printed maybe in December. And that's when those cases will be ripe to be brought to court.
And just so I'm clear, if the Georgia cases are heard at trial in October, and he and the others were found guilty, would that automatically rule him out of running?
Oh, absolutely not. In fact, I was the first person to point out months ago that under the American Constitution, you could be a convicted felon and incarcerated, and you could serve as president of the United States. Now, if it's a federal charge and Donald went back to the White House, he could order the Justice Department to stop all actions against him, and that would be the end of the federal cases. But in the state cases, if the state of Georgia has him incarcerated, for example, and he's charged with crimes that have mandatory 5-year prison
He could be
sentences,
president from prison.
He could be president from jail. Constitution says you have to be a natural-born citizen, 35 years old, a resident for 14 years, end of discussion. It's an absurdity, and hopefully Congress would not allow it by impeaching and convicting him, but there's nothing to prevent it in the Constitution.